Hannah's ripped dress. 2 days ago, I woke up to an iPhone jammed full of texts and DMs about a video that I hadn't seen yet, with people asking what I thought about Hannah's ripped dress. I think Hannah Nealman is an evil genius. And I also think she is fake AF. Remember the first time Ballerina Farm ever popped up on my For You? I was on vacation at the time in Utah, seeing my grandbaby with Kevin and the kids, staying in our family's very nice vacation property in the incredibly affluent Park City, Utah. And I think I laid in bed for like 45 minutes that morning just scrolling Ballerina Farm videos. It was such an escape from my busy, modern, suburban life that I just couldn't put it down. And I remember that very first impression that I had of this woman and this family. I was picturing like Oklahoma, Nebraska, way out there in the middle of no place where there's not even like a truck stop in the town. I read her whole entire bio, even went to the Ballerina Farm page to look at what it cost to order some of the boxes, which I could never afford. And I read the whole story of the city slickers turned farmers, and it just literally almost made me think of like going back to buying another farm. I was so obsessed that I shared some of her videos with my friends. And one of my friends texted back and said, "Hey, aren't you in Park City? I could drive you past the farm." And when he told me where it was and that he and his wife were in their Mormon state, the bubble burst immediately. Then I did a little more research and talked to a bunch of people who know the Nealman family personally, and my brain exploded. This is not some sweet little country girl who has spent her life on a farm and those are just the clothes that she wakes up wearing. This girl is a performer, and she pulls the act off so seamlessly that we don't realize that we're watching an act. Hannah says herself in her response to the Times article that her channel is an expression of her real life. No, she doesn't say, "This is just my real life, I'm just shining a camera on it." She says the channel is an expression of her real life. But the picture that you get of this super rural, off-the-grid lifestyle is not reality. When I drove to Ballerina Farm, I started in Park City. If you've never been to Park City, it's not a huge town, it's a ski resort. But it has world-class amenities, restaurants and shopping, a massive factory outlet mall, gyms and yoga studios, and fancy grocery stores. And of course, some of the best skiing in the world, which the Nealmans enjoy all the time. But we don't see videos about that. Not on their channel anyway. You have to go over to JetBlue Grandpa's page to see that. His $20 million ski in, ski out mega mansion is just a short drive from Ballerina Farm, where Hannah, Daniel, and the kids stay in their own of one of 10 private, huge guest suites. And while yes, Juilliard Hannah did live in New York while she attended Juilliard, and while she wore a Miss New York sash to compete in pageants, she's not, by any means, a city slicker turned farmer. She grew up in the suburbs of Utah, a little town called Springville, which right now has 35,000, and by the way, is very close to where their farm is now. Her mom over on her page talks about driving to Ballerina Farms, which is about a 35 to 40 minute drive. I would estimate the Ballerina Farm is about 40 minutes max to Salt Lake City, which is a huge city. A lot of people were confused about her being from Utah at all. I've had so many people say she's from South Dakota because she did compete as Mrs. South Dakota in the Mrs. American pageant. But that's just because she didn't get the Mrs. Utah spot, and South Dakota had a vacancy. So for a while, Hannah became Mrs. South Dakota, and you could see in the comments all of the South Dakota people, "Girl, thanks for representing. What part of the state do you live in?" She lives in this part of South Dakota right here. And can we talk about their house for a minute? Because I've heard from people who helped with their remodel. We all think that Hannah's living in this beautiful old farmhouse, that those walls have been there for 100 years. No, this is an actual before picture of the Ballerina Farm kitchen. Daniel, who became a multi-millionaire working for some of his dad's company, did an extensive and very expensive remodel on the $2.97 million farm that they bought. Here's the old schoolroom in the house before and after. Speaking of the schoolhouse, Hannah has always said publicly that her kids are lovingly homeschooled by their mother, while telling Megan Agnew and other reporters that she has a full-time school teacher. And by the way, yes, I have confirmed from every source of every person that I know who lives in Camas that there is a full-time teacher who is teaching the kids, not Hannah. Then there is the GoFund for her dad's cancer. This GoFund was organized about the time that Hannah was doing her last Mrs. American competition. Her father was there right before he unfortunately passed. I had a woman reach out to me after I talked about this GoFund, who said that she had helped Hannah with some of her pageant wardrobe, ball gowns starting at $3,000. She was absolutely blown away when she watched my video about this GoFund, knowing full well the money that the Nealmans had dropped on the Mrs. American competition. All right, but back to the ripped dress. Once again, when I first watched Hannah's videos, I got drawn into this cute little humble but naturally beautiful housewife who lived in the middle of nowhere, who had to churn all of her butter and run around in dirty aprons and ripped dresses with no makeup. Let me tell you this much. All of my mutuals who live in their Mormon boundaries or in their community, and every single person that I have ever heard from online who knows them personally says the same thing, that Hannah's Little House on the Prairie clothes are just for the camera. That's not what she wears. She dresses in designer clothing and is not nice. Very entitled, lets her kids run wild. And while Ballerina Farm has Hannah dressed like this with no makeup, that's not what she ever looks like on her sister's page. When she's outside of the Ballerina Farm brand umbrella, the Pioneer clothes disappear. And it's either princess pageant, cute and Mormon, with lots of contour, and really great eyebrows. The kids do still tend to stay in costume, offset, but Hannah does not. What happens at Ballerina Farm stays at Ballerina Farm. Back to the ripped dress. This was intentional. This was meant to draw all of us normal, poor people who can't afford designer clothing into her fantasy land once again. Because how many of us can relate to this? Like, you're in a hurry, the armpit of your dress just ripped out, I don't know, hopping out of the truck after church. This says so much. I'm so busy taking care of my family that I can't even go put on something without a rip in the sleeve. This is the best thing I got. Let me end this video with a little conspiracy theory of my own. This egg apron video that ripped all our hearts out, and we were all like, Hannah's faking being happy, but she's really so disappointed that she didn't go to Greece. I fell for it too. She's good at what she does. But I don't think that the fake look, the fake expression, that whole like, this is an act, and then Daniel, you're welcome. I don't think that that was because she was really disappointed that it wasn't tickets to Greece. I think the whole video was just fake. She had ordered herself the egg apron. She says so. Oh, my egg apron. Daniel hadn't bought that for her. She just makes him film the damn video so that she can look like she didn't get tickets to Greece. So he comes in with a, you're welcome, which sounded really aggressive, but he was really like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this damn video. He knows it's fake. And he also knows that they vacation all over the world. France and Hawaii and all kinds of things that they're not showing us online. Because it doesn't fit the brand. The end.